My daughter is 20 and in college. She has a dorm on campus, but she doesn't live there. I love my daughter, but she can be a lot. Drama follows her everywhere, and I was hoping she'd grow out of it, but it never happened. Due to this, she's gone through multiple friend groups, and as she puts it, they're jealous, so she doesn't have college friends. Now, I married when she turned 18. I was never married, and her bio mom wasn't in the picture, so this was an adjustment. But I want to clarify that I did the proper steps. I introduced them when I was serious, 2 years in. I spent more time with her. I didn't force them together. We made boundaries for my wife, like punishment falls to me, not her. When she was struggling, I got her into therapy and did sessions with her. She stopped when she hit 18 since I couldn't make her go. My daughter's making it impossible for them to get along. If my wife tells her food is ready, she gets angry she's bothering her. If she doesn't tell her, then she's angry she wasn't invited. It's contradiction after contradiction. I've talked to her, and my wife has tried to do what she asked, and then she was angry that she did that. It's impossible. Now to the main issue. My wife's birthday was yesterday. I put out her presents and cake on the table. I had work too, so I left. I returned, all her presents were opened, and my daughter was eating a piece of the cake. I asked why the heck she would do that. She told me my wife doesn't deserve birthday presents. That's when I had enough and told her if she hated her stepmom so much, she could leave. That she has a dorm, and I don't want to see her until an apology to me and my wife. She started crying and called me a jerk. I've been getting a lot of texts from her, and I'm doubting my decision. Am I the idiot for telling my daughter if she hates her stepmom so much, she's free to leave? Not the idiot. I mean, what the heck? Who does that? I'm doubting my decision? Don't. Your daughter's chosen to take the nuclear path of destruction. Kick her to her dorm. Furthermore, threaten to stop paying for school if she behaves this poorly. Give her selfish butt a wake-up call. Eating someone's birthday cake before it's been cut is a conscious act of hostility. She opened all the gifts and stated your wife doesn't deserve them? I don't think the malicious intent gets any more clear than this. I'm not being sarcastic. She knew exactly what she was doing. She's way too old to be acting like a spoiled child. Sometimes in life we have to learn lessons the hard way, and it looks like she needs to learn her actions have consequences. When I read she has a dorm on campus but doesn't use it, I was like, what the heck? What a colossal waste of money. And now I get it. She would be eaten alive behaving like she does in any other social situation, and probably has. She ran home, where she was allowed to continue being a crap human with no consequence. At 20, with that stunt, her bags would be on the lawn in almost any other house. You're doing her no favors with the excessive understandingness. She's going to have a hard road ahead. Yep, she has no friends because they're all jealous of her, which tells me she likely expressed the same bratty behavior and became a social pariah. OP, an adult woman just deliberately ruined another's birthday because she doesn't like her. This is no longer passive behavior. She actively did something to hurt you and your wife. She isn't a child. Stop treating her like one. Show her that actions have consequences and remind her you don't have to forgive her for acting out in malice. When my son Josh was 16, he and his girlfriend Chloe told my wife and me that they were expecting a baby. We were reasonably concerned and upset, but supported the two in whatever they wanted to do. They decided they wanted to keep the baby. Chloe's parents were not supportive and kicked her out of the house. We had her move in with us. My wife and I developed a close bond with her as we helped her prepare for the baby. After the birth of their daughter, Bryn, Chloe and Josh lived with us until they were 22. As they were so young, we helped a lot those first few years as they got their GEDs, went to trade school, etc. It was not an easy road, but it made us all closer. I consider Chloe the daughter I never had. They're now 25, and Bryn is a tween. Last year, Chloe's parents got in contact with her and said that they were sorry. They wanted to be in their lives, etc. Josh and Chloe chose to let them into their daughter's life hesitantly. They've played the part of overcompensating grandparents who try to pretend no time has passed. Bryn is healthy, safe, and loved. That's all that matters. They've been standoffish with my wife and me. I feel that they're jealous and maybe insecure about how close we are to Chloe and Brian. We've tried to arrange for times to talk, outings where all four of us can be with Bryn, etc., but they always rebuff. So we've settled to be polite and kind, getting along with them for Bryn, Chloe, and Josh's benefit. Chloe and Josh have recently announced that they're getting married. She asked me to walk her down the aisle. She explained that while her dad is too, she'd love to have her other dad with her. I was touched. She's called me Papa Sam for a while now, and my wife Mama Carol, but I still didn't expect this. I accepted. Now Chloe's dad refuses to walk her down the aisle because I will. He says that I'm encroaching on a precious moment between him and his daughter. I said I would if Chloe wanted me to walk her. Chloe has said she doesn't want me to step down and wants her dad there too. I've said I'll support what she wants. She's remained firm that she wants to find a way to get her dad on board, so we'll walk her. Chloe's mom said I should step down because, of course, Chloe won't ask me to. I commented how I'd be just as much of a deadbeat as they were for so long. This made her and her husband angry. My wife feels I've fueled this drama and should just step down so Chloe can have her parents there. I've said I won't until Chloe asks me to step down. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. He just doesn't want to have to explain to people why Chloe's getting walked down the aisle by two people, and he's trying to blackmail her by refusing to walk her down the aisle. And he's throwing a temper tantrum now that you're not abiding by his demands. A guy like this will probably cave in the end. It's clear that he's the kind of person who cares a lot about putting on a good face, and it'll look even worse for him if he's not walking her down at all. Exactly. You've stood up for this girl since she was 16, and I see no reason for you to stop now. You walk her down the aisle and keep being a strong, loving male role model in her life. You and your wife have my total admiration. You're genuinely caring people. I hope the wedding goes well. They are trash parents who do not deserve such a wonderful daughter and granddaughter. It is Chloe's choice, so you should always respect that. I would also suggest you be on guard, as they will try to remove you and your wife's voice in all the wedding planning, and will possibly try to agitate the whole situation, seeking to have you removed from the wedding. Chloe's parents kicked her out at 16. They deserve to feel bad. Let these people choke on their shame. Congrats to your son and Chloe, as well as you and yours. I'm a single mom to Emmy, a young grammar schooler. Emmy's my only child. She's been sick since she was a toddler, and if I'm going to be honest, she likely won't make it to 10. Her dad left us when she got sick. Emmy spends 1 week in the hospital and then a week at home. Because of this, the last time I was able to send her to school was 2 years ago, when we were able to do preschool 3 hours a day, 2 days a week, and they still wore masks. Now the only time she's around other kids is when she's in the hospital. Emmy hates sharing her toys, so I try not to make her do it. Usually when we see her cousins, I'll buy something like a big pack of chalk and a gallon of bubbles, and I tell her it's for everybody, but that's the only time she'll share. My sister and her 2 daughters, 1 year younger and 1 year older than Emmy, are living with us temporarily. It's been difficult for everyone. At first I switched rooms with Emmy, and we put all 3 girls in the master, but Emmy hated sharing rooms and said the girls were constantly touching her stuff, so we switched back, and I put the girls in the spare room with their mom. My sister was complaining that the room was too crowded, so she's staying on a cot in my office, but apparently that's also uncomfortable, so she wants the girls to share again. My sister doesn't pay any rent. Her husband sends $500 a month to help pay for their groceries, and she helps with Emmy while I'm working. My job is pretty flexible, so I can watch her while I work. They've also complained that I take Emmy on day and weekend trips without them. Emmy just spent the week in the hospital, and we came home on Saturday. My niece's beds were moved into Emmy's room, and her toys were everywhere. I confronted my sister, and she said Emmy isn't even using her room or her toys half the time, and that little girls should be sharing with each other. I told her that Emmy had already made it clear that she didn't want to share her room or toys, and that our room needed to be the way we left it by the end of the day. She said I was being unfair, so I snapped at her that I would prioritize my kid over her ungrateful self and her kids, and that if she can't get over my kid not sharing, she needs to find somewhere else to live. They did fix Emmy's room, but they haven't been talking to us. At this point, I'm thinking about kicking them out anyway. Am I the idiot for telling her she needs to get over my kid not sharing or move out? Not the idiot. They're not talking to you? Really? In your house that they're living in rent-free? The cheek. Kick them out. This isn't sustainable, and you and your daughter need to have a calm space where boundaries are respected. In addition to whatever her emotional reasons are for not sharing, I would think germ reasons might apply too if sicknesses are worse for her. Not just rent-free. Brother-in-law is sending $500 a month for food, which is $1.85 per person per meal. I've never really done the math on my own food budget, but I'm going to take a wild guess that it costs more than that to adequately feed someone, which means OP is supplementing their food in addition to providing shelter, utilities, and entertainment. And they have the nerve to demand more rather than be grateful for what they're already getting? Sister-in-law needs a swift kick out the door. I can't even with this situation. They just took over the girl's room? Who does that? For that alone, it would have been a very long farewell. No one will miss you. I don't blame you, OP. You're just trying to manage your daughter's remaining time as best you could. Your sister is a massive idiot. She has not taught her own daughters a thing about respecting people's boundaries, and that makes it more stressful for your daughter as well. You're doing what's right for your daughter's well-being. The only thing I think would make you the idiot here is your sister's children. Why do they live apart from their father? Is he and your sister on a break since you refer to him as her husband still? Regardless, kicking out your adult sister would be one thing, but if that further uproots her daughters, I would say you're a bit of an idiot. They're dealing with an issue with my sister's stepson, and he can't be around the girls now. If my sister has to go, her girls do too. I don't have the time to get them to school before work, pick them up in the afternoons, keep up with their activities, and I don't know what I would do with them every other week when Emmy's in the hospital. Sister doesn't work. She says the kids are too young, so she has no one but me. My brother is the type of person who decides to be their authentic self without anyone's opinion. He expresses this a ton with clothes. He'll wear outrageous stuff often, and his job is online, so he wears his clothes often. Think Lady Gaga types of clothes. One day he's in a dress, and the next he's wearing a skin suit. This wasn't a problem until recently, when he started to drop his son off for carpool. My daughter goes to the same school, and I used to drive them both. Ever since he began to do this, he just embarrassed his kid. My daughter refuses to carpool with him and wakes up early for the bus. Now, what I got from my daughter is he's known as the kid with the weird dad and is bullied for it. She also informed me that she would not be helping him since she doesn't want it coming onto her, since it's her uncle. I'm a little disappointed she won't stand up to them, but I don't blame her for not wanting to get involved. It was bad today, and my brother called me, ranting that my daughter should stand up for him. I told him the reason his kid is bullied is due to him, and he needs to send him on the bus or stop embarrassing him. He's angry. I blame him for being against his artist's freedom. He thinks I'm being a huge jerk. Am I? Not the idiot. It's not ideal that he can't wear whatever he wants without people making fun of his kid, but that's the world we live in. If he's not willing to do something to stop what's happening, then he's a failure as a parent. The dad needs to commit to showing up like 50 straight days in jeans and a hoodie. If he gets and stays boring, the kids will forget. Later, when it's died down, his son can say that his dad was doing it to embarrass him or something, to explain it away. I disagree. It's too late. Even if your brother dressed in the most discreet way possible from this point forward, your nephew will always be known as the boy with the weird dad. Kids have long memories, and are incredibly cruel. And him trying to put the responsibility on your daughter here is bananas. Does he think a kid 2 years younger than his own can stop the other kids from mocking his child? Does he just not remember school? I disagree with your take. OP, you're the idiot. I'm not going to put any blame on the little girl because she's got to look out for her. But OP, you're raising a little girl who will not stand up for what's right because it's inconvenient to her. Would you advise your daughter to stand up for a family member who was wearing an anime shirt and got bullied? What if the dad works as a sanitation worker? Would the kid deserve the bullying because it's not a fancy job? I think what people fail to understand is that there is a time and a place for dressing. The same reason why most schools and workplaces have a dress code. Do you want to wear glamorous, strange fashion clothes? If you're going out with friends, go all in, buddy. If you're going to an office job or a school, maybe not. My friend Mary is due in 4 weeks. Our friend Shelley has organized a brunch for this coming weekend on Saturday as a baby shower thing. Before she did this, she asked for dates and places we could go. I told her that I absolutely couldn't do Saturday. My husband has to work, so we can't watch our baby, and my parents would be flying back to their country, so I'll need to drop them off at the airport, etc. Shelley told me it definitely wouldn't be that day. She's also chosen a restaurant a 3-minute walk from her and a 40-minute drive from me, which is fine, but it obviously means my commute would be nearly 90 minutes altogether. I told her I couldn't come for the above reasons. Immediately, the guilt tripping started about how, as the only mother in the group, I had to be there for Mary. Shelley herself has an infant. She even said I should tell my husband not to work or my family to delay their flight so I could go. I told her I couldn't make it, and I was sorry, but she knew the score from the start. She's been bombarding me with text, even from her husband's number, saying I'm selfish, and all I care about is my kid, and I'm not supporting women. I think she's full of nonsense. She knew my limits, and now she's acting like it's new info. Am I the idiot? I politely declined an invitation to a baby shower due to understandable inconveniences, and my friend became a psycho. Am I the idiot? Come on. It's totally reasonable to ask someone to change their flight or skip work to attend a baby shower. Psycho is right. You're not the idiot. Shelley picked the one day you couldn't come. I don't know what her deal is. Just make sure you let Mary know the deal so Shelley can't martyr herself at the shower to make you look bad. Ask to make separate plans with Mary for lunch to give her a shower gift and talk about Psycho Shelley. She's saying I'm selfish and all I care about is my kid. Hold on. She's trying to guilt trip a mother for putting her own child ahead of others? OP, some people just can't be reasoned with. She chose the date on purpose to make you feel bad. Block her. Tell your friend who's having the baby the real story and plan a date with your friend to celebrate her pregnancy. I, 34 female, have been married to my husband for 10 years. We have 2 daughters together, a kindergartner and a pre-tween. I have a daughter from a high school relationship who's nearly an adult. My daughter's 7 months pregnant. The father's in her life. They're both working hard and saving money. I've already had the necessary talks with my daughter, but she's dead set on being a mother to this child. My sister-in-law, 35, has struggled with fertility and basically has been told that she cannot have children. They've been actively trying or just not using protection for the past 10 years and only conceived twice, ending in early losses. My mother-in-law already suggested letting my sister-in-law adopt this baby, and we told her my daughter's wishes. The other day, I came home from work, and my mother-in-law was over. I overheard her talking to my daughter about that idea, telling her how she wouldn't be fit to be a mother, and sister-in-law's much more prepared, and she wouldn't want to repeat the cycle because I had her so young. She then pulled a guilt trip and told her how sister-in-law's dream is for a child. I simply opened the door and said, "Get out." She stared at me in complete disbelief and then said I couldn't kick her out of her son's house. I said I can, and I just did. She left, but then when my husband got home from work, he said she had left a ton of messages about how I'm in the wrong and how I'm setting my daughter up for failure. My husband is on my side. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. While I cannot imagine the tough journey your sister-in-law's on as she navigates her fertility struggles, your daughter's circumstance is not a patch job for your sister-in-law's situation. There are tough conversations to be had when one is pregnant without planning it, regardless of age. Still, it was not your mother-in-law's place to have any of those conversations, and she didn't even approach it as a conversation. She was trying to manipulate your daughter emotionally. She deserved to get kicked out. She has no respect for boundaries or decency. Not to mention that the child's father also has a say, and it sounds like he wants to be involved. With the father actively present, they can try to bully OP's daughter, but they can't just force her boyfriend into giving up his child. Seriously, OP, have your husband give mother-in-law a stern lecture about not guilt-tripping his daughter and not shaming the poor girl. Also, not to mention that mother-in-law was at the house when OP and her husband were not to have this talk with OP's daughter, who is not mother-in-law's grandchild. I hope that she had treated her like a grandchild all these years, but this action makes me think differently. Even if your daughter eventually decides motherhood is not for her, she's not a broodmare for your in-laws. Letting a close family member adopt the baby is a horrible idea put forth by horribly selfish people. Good on you and your husband to have your daughter's back. Oh, good point. OP's daughter is from her previous relationship. It seems they'd have a battle on their hands. Food for thought. Could you or your husband touch base with sister-in-law to see if she knew what mother-in-law was doing? I hope she was unaware, but if she was not, it may necessitate a conversation with both mother-in-law and sister-in-law about boundaries and what is and is not their place in regard to your daughter's pregnancy. Although I also encourage you to check with your daughter to see if she's willing and comfortable to have you advocate on her behalf this way. I hope your mother-in-law is by herself in this insanity. Sister-in-law may be as much of a victim as anyone else, with mother-in-law acting as an unwanted agent. My 48 male daughter teen has gathered some followers on social media and started to get approached by some brands to promote their products. I don't know the first thing about this digital influencer culture, but I like that she's happy creating her content. We went through a family tragedy when my first wife passed away 3 years ago, and I believe the dedication to her channels had a significant positive impact on my daughter during a difficult time in her life. Anyway, whenever a company approaches her, I help the best way I can, going over the terms and conditions of contracts and so on. One thing that surprised me, though, is that some of those offers involve serious money. So I told my daughter from day one I would put it all away for her so she can access her money when she turns 18. I believe that as long as she's a minor and unable to make more informed financial decisions, she should get by on her allowance, just as my other 2 children do. She was initially okay with this, but lately she's asked me for more money. She pointed out that I allow my other daughter to keep and spend the earnings from her babysitting gig. It's a ridiculous comparison because a teen having some pocket money from babysitting as a complement to her allowance doesn't even compare to the money my other daughter's making now. But it's a fair point, and I gave her that. So I told her that we could use this as a reference. We could take an average of what her sister was earning with babysitting, or what her brother was earning flipping burgers in the fast food industry, or what most teenagers would realistically be expected to earn in this phase of life. I said I'd agree to take a similar amount from her earnings every month so she could complement her allowance, but the bulk of it would still be put away until she turns 18. She thought I wasn't taking her seriously to propose something like this. So was this an idiot move on my part? I'm leaning you are the idiot, but not because of money management. Your daughter makes a fair point. She earns more, and it stands to reason she should have access to more. You're treating her with a double standard. It seems weird to say. I think my daughter's mature enough to make adult decisions about her social media presence that could impact her future, but I don't think she's mature enough to manage money. If she's mature enough for one, she's mature enough for both. If she's not mature enough for one, is she mature enough for the other? This is a weird take. This is like child actors. They're clearly working in the adult world, but decent parents won't let them go wild with no oversight or control. How is this different? It's not a double standard. It's careful exposure to some grown-up places. OP is not the idiot, but there are some specifics we don't know, like exact amounts of money, so it's hard to advise. As a minor, she can't legally enter into a contract, so I have to be involved. I sign the papers and the money comes directly into my account. So yes, it's her money, and I never took a single penny out of it for my personal use or use towards our family. And the decision to put it away came not only as a measure to keep it safe, but also to keep her level-headed and grounded. I read that Emma Watson's parents gave her the same allowance they gave her brother, despite the fact she was earning millions while shooting the Potter movies. To clarify, my daughter's far from earning Harry Potter money, but I see this case as a positive example. Okay, why is it going into your account? Why not a savings account? Which would be smarter? Why not an account for her? And you saying she can only have the equivalent of babysitting money / flipping burger money is stupid. A percentage of the money she earns is better. Or put the money your son and daughter make into your account. You can get a savings account with a good interest rate for your daughter's money. Your daughter's right, it's not fair. Oh, and you're the one being taxed on the money? Your daughter needs a lawyer. Seriously, it's her money. And the more controlling you are, the more likely she'll just blow it once she's 18. I, 23 female, had been with my boyfriend for 10 months. It was his twin sister's wedding 3 weeks ago, and I was his +1. A lot of things went wrong on her wedding day. First, her makeup artist canceled. Their grandfather got into a car accident, and the bartender canceled. When the bartender withdrew, my boyfriend offered me to do it. I am a bartender as my full-time job. I wanted a break from work since this was my only day off for weeks, but I agreed with the bawling bride in front of me. My boyfriend told me that it was a well setup with a limited bar, but when we got back, it wasn't. I could tell it was an open bar, and yep, I was angry. I couldn't back out then, and I was swarmed all night. I was wearing a tight dress and strappy heels that were hard to take off, so I had to wear them all night. 6 straight hours of overly drunk people yelling at me. I'm not sure if they thought too much of an open bar, since many people got too intoxicated and had to leave early or were acting crazy. After that, my boyfriend's sister sent me a long text thanking me profusely, saying she was so happy I helped out so much and was grateful. I replied, "Thank you," and thought she would send a form of compensation, but nothing. I initially felt awkward asking, so I brought it up to my boyfriend, who looked confused. He said it was a favor. There was no compensation, and that their parents had already paid the bartender a lot of money, and they weren't getting a full refund, plus all the alcohol they bought for the open bar. It would be out of budget and inappropriate for me to ask them to pay me after the wedding already happened. He said his parents planned the wedding, not his sister, so it would be them who paid me, and that's not okay for me to do, since they spent so much already, and that I was being an idiot even wanting to ask. I felt horrible, and I told my parents when I saw them over the weekend, and they told me that he was manipulating me and that I deserved to be paid for working 6 hours. My dad says boyfriend was the one to volunteer me in the first place and put me in an uncomfortable situation to say no to the bride right in front of me. My mom thinks they should give me half the refund they receive from the original bartender and add another half, and to ask them myself directly. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your boyfriend manipulated you by volunteering your bartending services in front of the crying bride. Of course you said yes. You worked on your day off in a cocktail dress and heels, while being berated by drunk guests. By not paying you, they, the bride, his parents, and your boyfriend, say your time and skills are worthless. Your parents are right. Your boyfriend is the idiot. Your dad is right about how your boyfriend manipulated you. The fact he called you an idiot for asking is reason enough to end it with him. How are they not getting a full refund for what they paid the person who didn't show up? LOL. They're lying. Or they got conned by giving someone money who never even stepped foot at the wedding. The only idiot here is your worthless boyfriend. My guess is there never was a bartender. The boyfriend told the parents not to worry about it and took advantage of OP. Why pay when you can get one for free? Please dump this guy. I'm sorry for your wasted hours of work, but in the greater scheme of things, it's a small price to pay to find out how awful your boyfriend is. I hosted Thanksgiving at my home this year. We have several lactose-intolerant family members, one of them being my son's husband. So I made some recipes using oil or olive oil butter over real butter or lactate milk so it would be safe. I made sure to put the dairy-free items apart from anything with regular milk and butter by having a separate small table for those dishes. My son-in-law ended up feeling very ill, and my son brought him to the ER that night. Even though I used safe ingredients, he still reacted to something unknown in the food. My son rang me up from the hospital, asking what was in the dishes at the dairy safe table. I told him I used oil, vegan butter, and lactose. He was upset with me because I put milk in the mashed potatoes. I told him again that I put lactate milk so it would be safe. My son-in-law's recovered and is doing well. My son, however, is quite upset with me and claims he cannot trust me to cook food for them again because I mislabeled the food. He's claiming he's told me many times about his husband's dairy allergy, and I agree, he has, which is why I made separate food. It is now to the point where the family doesn't want me to make any dairy-free dishes for Christmas because I am, quote, failing to understand. Instead, they agreed that my sister-in-law would make some of those dishes, while my son and son-in-law would make the rest. I am beside myself because I love to cook for and feed my family. I feel I'm being displaced when what happened on Thanksgiving could have been caused by a reaction to anything. Edit, yes, they went to the ER just to be safe. My son-in-law developed a rash and upset stomach and used his EpiPen as a precaution. He was just observed and given an IV at the hospital and sent home in the morning. He didn't have an anaphylactic shock reaction to the food. I think some people here are very worried about the ER visit. He's doing very well now. Of course, we have talked about this issue. My son told me no dairy and provided me a list of foods to avoid and what to replace with. But I've been making lactose alternatives for years for my lactose allergic nephews, so I was already aware of how to accommodate a milk allergy. You are the idiot. Your son-in-law is not lactose intolerant. He is allergic to dairy. Lactose intolerance is an entirely different medical condition compared to dairy allergy. People allergic to dairy cannot have lactated milk or any dairy in any form. I can see that you tried your best to make something safe for your son-in-law, but it sounds like, without knowing, you made a mistake that could have resulted in your son-in-law's death. Also, you still don't understand the reason why the food you made for your son-in-law was not safe. So it's really for the best, for his safety, if you don't cook for him again. I'm sure you wouldn't want your son-in-law to become very ill or die from eating food you cooked. So I really hope you can come to terms with this and not feel like anyone's trying to displace you. Read some of her edits. She didn't try her best. The son gave her a list of dairy-free alternatives and explicitly told her to use no dairy, and then she put milk in the mashed potatoes. They told her that he's allergic to dairy products, not milk, and she put milk in the food. The guy she's trying to poison is an adult, her son's husband. Should we add homophobic to the list of adjectives that describe OP? Yeah, mate, I read this story and literally Googled whether lactate milk was safe for people with dairy allergies and learned it wasn't. Yet you'd think with all the effort OP put into describing how much she cares, she couldn't have Googled it? This is a just, no, mother-in-law sneaking in for validation. Update. I learned my mistake now. It was an honest confusion. Of course I've apologized and will again to my son-in-law. I'm not sure why anyone doubts that. They don't want me to pay for his EpiPen or hospital visit. All they want is for me not to prepare food for my son-in-law any longer, which I understand now. I feel horrible. I didn't look up the lactate, but I honestly thought it was safe. No, I didn't try to murder my son-in-law. I thought milk allergy was an allergic reaction to the lactose sugar in milk. Honestly, I do feel horrible. I didn't know there was a difference. I should only use vegan milk then and not lactose-safe milk in the future. I'm a stay-at-home mom to Elizabeth, a preschooler, and I have 2 nieces, toddlers, and 2 nephews, toddler and a preschooler, from my 3 siblings. They all live close to us. My siblings were having difficulty finding childcare for my nieces and nephews, and the topic of my watching them came up. I have all 4 of them, from 8:30 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. They each pay me $200 per kid per week, and they bring their own food. Elizabeth goes off to preschool in the mornings. We play at the house in the mornings, walk to Elizabeth's school at 11, play in the park next to the school for half an hour, come home and eat lunch, and then everyone naps from 12:30 to 2. We have 5 nap mats in the play area. Everyone has a mat, and everyone has a sleeping bag. We read a story, I turn off the lights, shut the blinds, turn on the lullaby music, and use that time to start cleaning up. Now, I have a rule. If you don't want to nap, you don't have to, but you don't get up and play. You sleep, read, or play quietly on your mat until 2. My older nephew's been pushing back on this. He gets up whenever I turn around and tries to be as loud as possible while on his mat. I told my brother and sister-in-law about this, and they said that he doesn't like naps and to let him play. I refused, because if they think they can choose between napping and playing, none of them will nap. Plus, he'll wake up the other kids. They're saying I'm being unfair by forcing him to stay on his mat for the entire 1.5 hours and that it's not developmentally appropriate. I'm considering telling them to find someone else to watch him because of this. Am I the idiot for making them stay on their mats? Not the idiot. You're managing 5 kids under school age, and that is a lot. You likely need that time to be able to clean up after them, as you don't get that time to do so while they're up, as there are 5 of them. Every daycare and preschool that I've ever interacted with has the same rule. Nap time occurs every day at a set time, and the kids don't technically have to sleep, but do need to lay there quietly, or read or play quietly. You are right on the money that if they're given the choice, none of them will nap at all. If the parents don't like it, they can find other arrangements for their kid. I disagree. You are the idiot. That is a long nap for children that age. I'm surprised that those kids aren't bouncing off the walls when they're supposed to be going to bed. Expecting a child his age to stare at the ceiling for 1.5 hours or be silent for that amount of time is unreasonable. He needs more stimulation than that. It is developmentally inappropriate. If you still need your 1.5 hours of free time, do this kid a favor and tell his parents you no longer want to watch their children. Please don't blame it on the kid. You're the one being unreasonable.